When I planted this shrub tree a number of years ago, it was a thing called a Siberian apricot. It lived for about 3 years, and then the entire tree died. And whatever this is came up from the roots, which I suspect is whatever the apricot was grafted onto. This is the second year that it's bloomed with plenty of blossoms. Last year it didn't set any fruit at all. My next door neighbor has plum trees and a peach tree. And I don't know whether this is an apricot or a plum. I'm thinking this is a plum, so what I plan to do is go next door and get some blossoms from the plum and the peach, bring it over and leave it here by the tree for the bees to do their work. So hopefully I'll have some fruit on it and find out what this thing is this summer. I didn't bring my pruning shears with me, but I'm over at my neighbor's. This is his peach tree. It is loaded in blossoms this year. The mild winter must have done it a lot of good. This would be a good crop of peaches. I always come over and get a few peaches in September. They're not as big as the ones you buy in the store, but they're delicious. And this is his plum tree. To me, these blossoms do look similar to what's on mine. So perhaps if I take a few of these down and put them in water next to my tree, the bees might do some cross-pollination, and I might see what kind of a tree I've got. Well, here comes trouble. This is EBS delivering my lumber and a wheelbarrow that I have to assemble. I got a 5 cubic foot wheelbarrow to replace my garden cart that died. The wheelbarrow is made of plastic, so it shouldn't rot like a wooden garden cart did anyway. Okay, so I guess the name of the game is to turn all of this into that. Like it says, some assembly required. Well, how's that for a contraption to put on a fruit tree? Like red green, I would have preferred to have had duct tape, but I was fresh out of that, so I had to use packing tape. I have a branch of peach blossoms and a branch of plum blossoms, and I really think this is a plum tree when I see the two flowers side by side. That's the ones that I just brought down from my neighbor's house, and this is the ones that are growing on the tree. So I think we have a plum here. But hopefully this will work and I'll get a few plums on it and see what they're like. Well, that wasn't so bad. Went together quite easily. I think it's a nice little wheelbarrow. Just the size that I need. I didn't want a big one. I have back and hip and knee problems, and I wanted a small one so I wouldn't be tempted to carry a lot of stuff around in it, I guess. And just as I was finishing, the post office lady dropped off my package with my birthday gifts from my niece Kelly and her family in Ontario. A brand new rain gauge and a jelly strainer. I use this fall when I make apple jelly and quince jelly, and a nice big ball of garden twine, which I'll have lots of uses of this summer, tying up vines and tomato plants and that sort of thing. And no, my niece isn't crazy. I selected the gifts. She gave me a very nice gift certificate, and these are the things that I bought with them. Well, there's the rain gauge installed in the square foot garden. It says that the numbers are large enough that you can read them at a distance. You sure can. They're very big. If you see that bit of red at the bottom, that's a red float. And when it starts to fill with rainwater, the float will come up and make it easier for you to read the gauge as to how many inches or fractions of inches of rainwater that you've had. I can hardly wait for it to rain now. This is a Veronica. I'm not sure of its full name. I've had it in the garden for years. It's something that really spreads and takes over, which I guess would bother some gardeners, but that doesn't bother me at all. I like plants that multiply and spread and take over. The more flowering plants you have, the less room there is for weeds. I don't know which garden I started this in, but now it's in all 3 areas where I have flower gardens, up by the roadside, here by the house, and out in the hidden garden. And I didn't move it deliberately, but I have transplanted something and a little piece of it's come along. It's in my lawn. I've seen it growing in under some trees at the edge of the forest. It's really prolific. Well, the concept is simple enough. I just took a couple of 2x4s, 2x4x8, and nailed them together with a couple of 4-foot cross pieces. Now I'm going to flip it over and put poultry netting on the other side, stand it up, and nail it to the square-foot garden raised bed, and put a couple of braces nailed to the bed as well, because we have a lot of wind here. But time will tell. I'm almost finished with this part of it, ready to turn it over. Well, that's it with the brace pieces added. Now to flip it over and add the poultry netting. Well, there's the poultry netting installed. I think it's going to work okay. I bought a roll of 25 feet of poultry netting, but I bought the 4-foot wide kind, so it just should be just enough to span the space here, and that worked. I stopped a little bit short of the bottom. I plan to do that on each one, because that's the part that will be nailed to the raised bed anyway, so you won't need netting down there. That way I'll make sure that I have enough to make 4 of these, I guess. Now to see what it looks like installed in the garden. I used 4-inch galvanized nails. 3-inch was really about all that you'd need, but I bought the 4-inch ones on purpose so that I could clinch them, bend them over on the opposite side, hoping that will make it a little less apt to pull apart in some of our windstorms. Well, that's 1 down and 3 more to go. With the bracing, it's remarkably sturdy. I think it will hold my peas and probably withstand quite a bit of wind. Not in any danger of winning any beauty contest, but I think it's functional. I just noticed today that some of the carrots that I planted are coming up. Leaves are far too small to show up on video. And also some of the calendula, so I guess I'm going to have carrots and flowers anyway. I'll finish this video off with just a little clip of the tree that I call the old man. Reminds me of an old man standing there with his arms hanging out. It's the Norway weeping spruce. I've had it for many years. Give you some idea. If you see these big pine trees that are growing around it, they were just small seedlings when I planted it, and I'm glad that they grew up and got bigger than it, because they protect it from the winter winds. I think he might have some trouble if he got iced up and then we had a lot of wind. But it's a tree that normally would grow along the ground as a ground cover, but you train it as a standard. When you first get the tree, you tie it up to a stake in the ground and let it grow as tall as you want it to grow, and then sort of clip the top. And once you've done that, it just doesn't go any taller. It just keeps growing these weeping branches. I've seen ones that have lovely big cones on it, but mine's never had cones. I inquired at a garden center, and they said it's because it isn't stressed. I should go around it with a shovel and cut off its roots and stress it. Well, I don't want to kill it. If it wants to have pine cones, it can have them sometime, but I'm not going to go cutting its roots off. It's been here now for probably 20 years or more.